Literature is a field of study that has a lot of different mediums within it. Some are very firmly established into literature, where some are a bit more controversial. One such form is that of the graphic novel, which in recent years has seen a lot of debate in academic circles about whether or not it should be classified and studied as literature. Now, personally, as someone who's both studied a lot of literature in classes like this one, and who's read a lot of graphic novels, I think the answer is obviously yes. You see, graphic novels have every single key point of literature, and I believe that the arguments against it are fairly flimsy. Now let's start out by talking about what defines literature. If you ask Merriam-Webster's dictionary, literature is defined as writings in prose or verse, especially writings which have excellence of form or expression, and that express ideas of permanent or universal interest. So let's take this definition and see if we can't apply it to graphic novels. One we'll be using to kind of compare to is called Mouse by Art Spiegelman. Now this particular graphic novel covers Art's life with his father during the Holocaust. And I like to kind of pass this around the room. Please feel free to look through it and get an idea of what it's kind of like, so that you've got a little bit of context as we continue. Now, let's start by kind of talking about prose. This one's fairly easy for it to get through, because in general terms, prose just refers to the language we use that's not written in a special kind of lyrical quality. And if you look at the panels of Mouse, there are prose everywhere. There are words top and bottom of each and every panel, all of which that tell a story. If we want to talk about the more difficult part of literature, whether or not it achieves excellence of form and expression, the answer is undoubtedly yes. Mouse in particular has won a Pulitzer for its expressive work, and the Wall Street Journal has gone on to call it the single most affecting and successful narrative ever done about the Holocaust. So all these things combined check off every single part of our definition of literature. It's written in prose, and it achieves excellence of form in a topic like the Holocaust, which has universal interest. So, with that in mind, why do people still kind of argue against its inclusion? Well, it happens to be the visuals in it.
But the visuals can also be a pro too, because it helps like show
Yeah, and
meaning as well as like the feeling of what's happening.
Right. Yeah. And I really disagree with the statement that it's too visual to be considered literature. But the sentiment is generally summed up by one Ryan Dugan of the Daily Nebraskan. He says, comparing them to movies, that if you add captions to a film, it does not make it literature. However, I think this is a fairly poor comparison. First of all, because you can have a film without captions, and second of all, because the captions are not an essential part of that film, whereas the text in a graphic novel is essential to the narrative. You cannot have a graphic novel without the words. Similarly, I believe that there's other art forms that we currently accept as literature that are visual in nature as well. We would not claim that Romeo and Juliet is too visually considered literature, even though it was meant to be seen rather than read. That is why in all the classes you've had over the years that studies Shakespeare, you've undoubtedly watched a performed version of it. Similarly, poetry also depends on its visual powers as well. Although it is entirely words, it is the shape and form that those words take that help define the meaning. Diving into The Wreck, a story which I did a very lengthy paper on, is very different if you read it just as one long essay, as opposed to paying attention to the final words in each line and the structure of each stanza. Now, I think what I'm trying to get across here is that to say graphic novels aren't literature simply because of their inclusion of visuals belittles the medium and is not fair, especially when we already have things like plays and poetry that are praised as literature in spite of their unique visual approaches to the medium too. So I'm hoping that after this, in the future, when you approach graphic novels, you will approach them for what they are, for pieces of storytelling that are as poignant and masterful as any others you will ever experience, as what I believe them to be literature. Thank you very much.